Welcome to the old Luminous channel again. I'm working on a 2D Maglite and I'm going to cut it down, and I've done some video about cut downs before and how to do it. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the measurements in case anybody wants to try this. I don't know if anybody can be really crazy enough to do it, but this is a 2D Maglite body. And I've taped it off because I'm going to be making lines, marking lines for cuts. And this is the top of the body where the threads are. This is the hole for the button. Everything's been stripped out of it. The switch has been taken out, so it's just a bare body. And this one is going to have a switch and a tail cap, so I need to remove the stock switch. And I know that what I'm going to do is I'm going to make cuts at certain distances, and I've already have them figured out. So I'm going to make a cut at 40 millimeters from the top, and that is going to be right at the top edge of the switch. Okay, I already know that. I know that I'm going to cut at 70 millimeters, which is a little down from the bottom edge of the switch, so I'm going to make a mark at 70. Then those two cuts will eliminate the section of material where the switch is, and they'll be joined together. I also need to shorten the body because I'm only going to be using either a 4AA battery holder or have it used where a 26650 would fit into it. So at the most I'm going to only need 70 millimeters of distance for batteries. So I'll be removing some material from the rest of the body, and I try to match things up so they look fairly symmetric. I know a lot of guys will just cut right straight down from the top and cut into the knurl and just slide everything forward. Well, I like to have wherever the seam is sort of in the center of the knurl, and I like to have some open area of smooth body above the knurl. So I'm going to go from that 70 millimeter point where I cut right down to the edge of the knurl, and then from the edge of the knurl I'm going to make a cut right at the knurl. Okay, to separate the two, and then I'm going to remove another 40 millimeters of knurling. So I've marked that. Okay, I know I'm going to cut right at the edge of the knurl. Then I come down here and I cut, and then that section will also be removed and everything else shoved up. So the way I go ahead and mark this metal, and I just cut with a hacksaw. I don't have anything else besides a hacksaw. But in order to get a good mark, what I do is I use a pipe cutter, and I've tried cutting the whole thing with a pipe cutter, but hard aluminum is really tough with this kind of a pipe cutter. And I know there's other stuff out there, but for the price, I just do it the way I've always done it until I can afford to do different. So all I do is I just get the pipe cutter lined up, and I'm going to take it away from the camera here so I can see my mark. And it's always fun. That looks like it's about right. And I just snug it down a little bit, turn it around, and make a couple turns to make sure that I got a cut in the metal. Okay, then I go down to the next one and so forth and so on until I get all of those marked. Then I'll cut them with a hacksaw, and that's what I'm going to do here in the next part of this. Okay, just to show you real quick, I have 4 cuts in the body, and you can see the cut marks right there, the cut lines. There's a 3rd line there, and then there's a 4th line right in the knurling. So that's what the pipe cutter does. It just marks something as a guide for me to be able to cut with a hacksaw. The other thing you have to, remember is that you're wanting to make sure you don't take any excess material off. So since this is the section that's going to be removed, I'm going to cut towards, this side of the lines. So I'm cutting towards the center rather than towards the outside, so I don't cut extra material away. The same when I cut here, I'm going to cut towards the center section, which is going to be removed, so that, basically I leave the line there as my marking point. That way I don't remove too much material. So I'm just going to do this with a hacksaw, so I'm not going to sit here and watch you how to cut with a hacksaw. I'm going to go ahead and cut them, and then we'll go from there after that. Okay, I've done all the cutting with the hacksaw. It's not really very pretty, but hey, this section is the section that had the original stock switch in it, and so that's going to be thrown out. This section was a section of knurl that is 40 millimeters. That gets taken out, which leaves me with 3 pieces, and they go together to make the shorty. Okay. What I use to join is I use this Dremel rotary bit. Okay. This is 10 millimeters deep. So whenever I make cuts with it, if I cut all the way, I'm going to be doing 10 millimeters. That's already been allowed for in the overall length, because I'm removing 20 more millimeters when this is put together, when they slide together. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go this way towards the front when I remove material on the outside of this top threaded piece. The reason I do that is because then I remove material on the inside of the other piece, and it slides over top of this, and it puts the joint just barely underneath the edge of the head. Okay, once it's all done, the joint will just barely be hidden, so you won't see that joint. Then when I do the next one, since I have this ring here, and this ring is not a total of 20 millimeters, it's just a hair short, but it's going to work. I'm just going to do the whole inside of that ring cut out, opened up. All right, so I will cut down on this back section. Okay, this whole ring will be opened up, and when it's all slid together, that ring will slide over this section and over that section together, and they'll butt up. It makes a fairly tight joint, and it should look fairly good as well. But that's the whole idea. The measurements I've given you, the 40 millimeter from the very top, then 70 millimeters down from the top, then go to the front edge of the knurl, cut at the front edge of the knurl, and measure 40 millimeter down and cut that, take out that section. I've already pre-measured that I'm still going to be removing another 20 millimeters with this cutter. So overall, I'll still be the right length I need to be at. Okay. Anyways, what I got to do now is I got to do my normal, human lathe deal, and there's a video on that already. So, thanks for watching.